Friends, and welcome to Edupedia World Videos. This is the course Basics of Programming in C language, and right now we are doing some practical exercises on string manipulation. So till now we have covered two practical exercises on manipulation in which we have learned about string compare, and we have also learned about how to traverse the string index by index using a loop. Okay, so now what we will be doing is we will study about the strcmp function, which is used to compare two strings, and strncmp function, which is just similar to strcmp, but you can specify the number of characters to compare over here. Okay, similarly after that we will study about strcpy, which is used to copy one string to other. So in C you cannot assign a string to a variable. Okay, you cannot straight away say a is equal to Rajesh or a is equal to school, something like that you cannot do. So we have to actually copy the string into the variable. Okay, then we will learn about strcat, which is just used to concatenate two strings. That means appending one string after the other one. And after that we will also cover strchr, str and strr. So strchr is a function that is used to find the character, the first occurrence of a character in C. And we will also use strrchr, which is nothing but the uh, reverse of it. It will find the last occurrence, so it will start its search from right side. Okay, right side of a string, and this will start its search from the left side of the string. And similar is the comparison of str and strr. So this will start from left side, this will start the search from right side. And the difference between these two is that strchr compares or finds only a single character. Okay, but str finds the sequence of characters, or find the string inside a larger string. Okay, so now let us try and use these functions one by one. So first function that we will be using is strcmp, and let us see how to use that. First of all, let us take some variables to be able to use this function. So I will take a character array. So let me name it as my string1. Okay, inside this I will store a value. So this value is how are you. Okay, so I will compare this string to another string. So I will take one more string, string2. For the time being, let me enter a similar value to this. So it should return that both the strings match. Okay, now I will check my strcmp function and use that. So how to use strcmp? Actually, strcmp function, if you see the syntax of strcmp function, here it is. So it says that strcmp expects two constant character pointers. Okay, so these are okay. So we have to take arrays, not single character variables. So these arrays, actually the name of the array is pointer to the first location of the array itself. So similarly here also, this will point to the first location of string2 array, this will point to the first location of the string1 array. So these are nothing but constant character pointers. Why constant character pointers? Because yes, their data type is character, so they are character. And pointers because they are arrays, they are name of the arrays. So name of the arrays are pointers in itself. What is a pointer? For those who have skipped our earlier discussions, a pointer is a variable that stores the address of another variable in the memory. Okay, so it will store the actual memory address of other variable. Now what other variable's address is this string1 storing? So the string1 is storing the address of the first element of this array. So that means index 0 of array string1. So that is what string1 is right now storing. So string1, if you use the name as it is, string1, this actually points to our first element, or the 0th index of the array string1. So this is a variable which is storing the address of this whole term over here, whole address over here. Okay, so that is why this string1 in itself is a pointer. Okay, so we will do about pointers in more detail also in our uh, forthcoming topics. So till now we have started on strings. Okay, so this is the function strcmp. So what does it expect? It expects two character pointers, and what it will do finally, it will return an integer to us. Okay, so the return type of this function is an integer, and it expects two strings as the input argument. So we'll pass our two strings. Now I will tell you that how this particular function actually works. Okay, so how this function will actually work is that in case both these strings are equal, okay, what it will do is it will compare them character by character, and if it finds no difference at all, so there should be no difference, like even the capital and small letters should be same, so it is case sensitive function. Okay, we will also do one of the functions in C languages which is not case sensitive, but for this function this is a case sensitive function. So if I replace this capital H by small h by here from here, so this will return me that the both the strings are different. If I make it a capital H, then these both strings are same to each other, equal to each other. Okay, so now how to check its value? Either we store this value inside an integer. Let me take an integer check. Okay, and I will initialize this integer to 0, and then I will store the value of strcmp function to check variable. Okay, so whatever this function returns will get stored in check, and then I can check my variable. If check is equal to 0, that means these both strings match or are equal to each other. In case this is not equal to 0, that means these both strings are different. Okay, so what we will print is the strings string 1 and string 2 are equal. Okay, similarly I can copy for the else condition. Okay, else we will print that both these strings are not equal. Okay, so this is our basic outline of the code which has been now completed. Now let me try and save it first, and then I will execute this. So save it and compile it. Okay, so it has compiled now. Let us execute this by clicking on this yellow green triangle over here. Okay, so now the execution is complete, and it is saying the strings string 1 and string 2 are equal. Okay, so now let us try one thing. Let us change the character. I am changing, instead of capital H, I have now changed the string 2 to a small h. Okay, so now let us see what does it say. First of all, let us save it and then try and compile it. It will obviously compile, and then we'll run it. Okay, so it is saying that the strings are not equal. So this proves that this function is case sensitive also. Even if there is a difference of small and capital letter, this function will return false. Now there is a function in C language which is similar to this, and that is stricmp. So what does stricmp does? I stands for ignore case, so it will ignore the case. So even if the case is different, then also it will return that both the strings are equal. But in case the letters are different, in case instead of how it is now, then it will return that these two strings are not equal. Okay, but for case differences it will ignore those, and it will say that the strings are comparable or equal. Okay, so if you use strcmp and I try and save this code, then I will build it, and then I will try and execute it. So now see, it is saying that string 1 and string 2 are equal. Okay, so strcmp, I means ignore case, so it will ignore the case of the letters. Even if I change this a to small and this y to small and then I save it, it will still return that the strings are equal. But now what I will do is, instead I will put a question mark after the first phrase, after the first string. So now let us try and save it and compile it. Okay, so it is now saying that the strings are not equal. So for the case differences, this one is ignoring the case differences, strcmp, but it is saying that both the strings are not equal if we add a question mark. So any such difference is not ignored. Okay, now what we will do is we will use the third variant, which is the strncmp, which compares a particular number of characters. Okay, so now what I will do is I have changed the cases of both to normal. Okay, so now both the strings have same cases. The only difference is that in the first string there is a question mark at the end of this. Okay, so now what I will do is I will use strncmp, and for strncmp, if we check the manual page, so what will happen is at last, so if we check this prototype that is coming to me, at last it is expecting me to enter size underscore t. So what is size underscore t? It is nothing but the number of characters that I have to compare. So if I enter 3, so it will compare only the first 3 characters, which are how HOW, which will compare only that much of length of the string, and it will return 0 if these characters match, and it will return some other value, a non-zero integer, if these values do not match. Okay, so let me save this code and execute it. Okay, so it is returning not equal because I just forgot to compile this code. I'll just compile it. So because I did not compile it, it was still having the earlier version, previous version. Now I have compiled it. Now see, it is returning that the strings are equal, although what we are doing over here is we are comparing only the first 3 characters. Okay, so first 3 characters are equal, so that is why it is saying the strings are equal. It is returning 0. So strncmp, what does it do? It compares the n number of characters, where n is the third argument that we specify of both the entered strings, and it returns 0 if these characters are equal. Okay, and it will return some other value if these characters are not equal. Okay, and so there is another counterpart of this, which is strncasecmp, which is what? Nothing but it will compare it ignorant of the case. Okay, so if the case of first 3 characters is different, but the characters actually are same, then also this will return that the strings are equal. So let me try and run this. Yes, it is saying that the strings are equal. However, if I would have run strncmp with this configuration, with the second string starting with a small h, then it will return me that the strings are not equal. Okay, so this was about the strcmp functions. Now we have done strcmp function. Now we will try and do strcpy function. Okay, so let us see what. First of all, let us understand the concept why strcopy function has been given in C language. Okay, so what it is that we know that string inside C languages are not as a default data type. So there is no data type as such in C language to store strings, but we store strings in character arrays. Okay, so we store strings in arrays. We can assign a single value to a variable at a time. Okay, if there is a variable a, int, suppose there is an integer value variable a, so I can assign it a value 10. This is during the initialization only. Okay, and if I want to change its value from 10 to say 20, then what I can do is I can do it like this: a is equal to 20. This also I can do. But if instead of this there is an array of integers, okay, suppose there is an array of integers, so in this way I cannot initialize it. To initialize it, I will have to use the array initialization syntax. In this I give the curly brackets first of all, and then I will give the 10 values in a comma separated sequence. Okay, so this is how I can initialize a integer array of size 10. Okay, and if it is a character, then also for character arrays the rules remain the same, although one difference that character arrays we can straight away initialize this way also. We can give them string values straight away by using double quotes. So another way to give a value to character array is this char and then whatever the name of the array is. Okay, then I will do equal to, and inside curly brackets, just like we had integers, we can have characters, but each character has to be enclosed in single quotes because that is how characters are given inside C language. Okay, so this is another way, which is a longer way. So this we do not use. We generally use this way only because character arrays are generally used for strings inside C language. But this thing is valid only for initialization. Okay, if I want to change the value of this string 1 or string 2, and if I try to do this, string is equal to string 1 equals to say I am fine. So this is not possible. Why this is not possible? Because string 1 is not pointing to a single memory location. It is an array of memory locations. A single memory location will not be able to store the complete string. Okay, you will need a number of memory locations where this particular string has to be stored. So either what you have to do is you have to do a loop throughout all the array elements of the string, and then store the first element I in the 0th index, then a at the 3rd index, m at the 4th index, then again space, a white space at the 5th index. Either you have to do it like that, or for doing all this thing, C language has provided a function, an inbuilt function. This function is the strcpy function. So strcpy is nothing but string copy. Okay, what we do is we have to give the output variable over here, or the variable to which we will store the particular value. Suppose I declare another variable which is char string, and the size of that is say char string 3 is the variable, and the size of that is say 10 characters. So it can store up till 9 characters. Why? Because one character we always have to keep spare for the for the null string. Okay, we have to store the null string at the end of the string to terminate it. So for that we need to spare one character space at the end of the string. Okay, so in this string now I want to copy some value, say I am fine. Okay, so how many characters are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. So to store 9 characters we have to use a space of 10 characters, so that the last character is null character, and string copy function itself copies the null character at the last. But another good option that is available to us is to initialize this first of all by a double quotation marks. So this is empty string which will reset all the characters from 0 to 10 to null character. Okay, so what is a null character in C? Null character is represented either by a backslash 0 in single quotation mark, or straight away an integer 0. So this is the ASCII value of null character 0, or you can use backslash 0 in single quotation marks. Okay, so that is how we actually copy the strings, and what we can now try and do is we can try and print our copied string on the screen. So let me call the function printf, and I have to print this copied string. So \n first of all, which is nothing but the escape sequence, and then I will have the constant message that I want to print. The copied string is colon, and then we will have %s, which is the format specifier for strings. Okay, string 3. Now let me try and run this program for you, and it is giving certain error over here. So we have just forgotten a semicolon on this statement. Anyways, now it should compile and run it. Okay, so this is saying I am fine. So our string has got printed as such on the screen. Okay, so that means that string has been copied successfully. Okay, so one more variant of this strcpy, which is a safer variant, is strncpy, strncopy. So I will tell you why it is safe. First, let us try and understand its functioning. So all the functioning remains same, just like in strncmp we had the number of characters at the end. So here also we will add the number of characters at the end. Suppose I want to copy only 4 characters, so 4 characters will be up till this I am. So that much will get copied and rest will be ignored. So if I will save this and then build it, now let us see the output. Yes, so that much I space am, 4 characters have been copied and rest have been ignored. So why this is a good option is because whenever we are running code, okay, so if we have a number of lines, hundreds of lines in tens of files in our code, suppose, so we do not remember somewhere below the line, if suppose I have written this initialization of this string 3 variable somewhere in my some of the files, and now I'm using it some other file, so I don't remember that what was the length of this particular string. Okay, what I can do is, as a safety measure, I can use I can give a check over this, that okay, I will not copy more than 4 bytes or more than 10 bytes in this particular string. So if I add 8 over here, it will copy the 8 bytes, first 8 bytes. Okay, so this way I will prevent the index overrun error. So although index overrun is not reported inside C language, but it will cause a fatal exception in case I access some memory which is not allowed to be accessed by my program. So right now I have copied 8 characters and it has printed I am fin. So that was the length of the string that we have specified to copy. Okay, so that is how strncmp and strcmp work. Now we are left with some other string functions, which are strcat, strchr, and strrchr. We will do this in our next video tutorial. So I hope whatever we did in this particular video was clear to you, and continue to watch the course Basics of Programming.